Good evening, everybody. It's Erica Good here, also known as the Mojo Maker, and I am here to help anyone who is feeling stuck, lost, or overwhelmed absolutely live their happiest, most confident life. And tonight, I'm going to be interviewing the gorgeous Dr Alisha Damani, who's another doctor who I've connected with on this platform, and she runs a fantastic podcast called Medic Today. And we're just going to be talking all about her journey and personal development in medicine. Felicia will appear in a moment. Okay, I think we're both. Yay, it's worked. Actually, yes. Hey, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, good.
Thank you so much for this conversation.
Yeah, it's lovely to have you on here. So, I was just telling everyone a tiny bit about you, but for anybody who has not ever come across you before, it'd be lovely just to start by sharing a bit of your journey, really, and a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. Where do I start? It's always there's so much that's happened. I'll go back to when I graduate from medical school. It was the point of graduation I actually began to question, what am I doing? I don't know if this resonates with others who are here or who will be listening. Um, but I was scared. I was nervous. I felt academically, I've passed my exams, but I didn't really know whether I was ready for the career. And actually, there was so much showing up for me that when I went into my foundation training, I really felt lost in myself. As much as I was doing the job, getting through foundation training, there was something missing in my life and I couldn't pinpoint it. I always knew that there was more to me and it just wasn't showing up in my day-to-day life. So I completed foundation training. I moved back home here to Portsmouth and did a 6-month post and put in my resignation. It was the scariest thing in the world. I've just spent years of my life studying, being good at science, studying, getting into medical school, graduating. And now here's me questioning, is this what I want to do? And I don't even know what I want to do because you've spent so long in this particular field. Anyway, so I resigned. I moved to London. I worked for a wedding boutique doing embroidery on wedding gowns for a period of time because I loved stitching. I loved embroidery. And I was introduced to a personal development program, and I never really knew what that meant. It's not something they spoke about at medical school. We do PPD, personal and professional development, but it was always in the context of medical practice. You've had a difficult conversation, you've broken bad news, or there's a challenging case, and you're reflecting on those specific cases. We never really learnt about personal development from the perspective of us as human beings. We're human beings before we are our job titles. I'm Alisha before I am Dr. Alisha. And I think that was the uneasy feeling when I graduated, that suddenly people saw me as a doctor and they forgot who I really was as a human being. And I think I lost a sense of that too through all of that. And there's always this sort of sense of validation that you're seeking from external sources. We're always passing exams and there are always milestones that we have to reach, and family we want to serve and make proud. And so when you have this sense of your identity is stuck to a job title and it's not quite it, who are you anymore? So I was introduced to the world of personal development, and it was the first time I actually questioned myself and gave myself the grace of, who am I and how do I create the life that I want to create when all I know is medicine and I have to rediscover what really matters to me. I didn't even know where to start, but it really was the foundation of who I am today. Being able to step back and really spend some time on my mindset and craft who I am, as opposed to I want to go back to who I was. No, not really. I loved the fact that I played a lot of sport, and I loved stitching, and I loved baking, and I choreographed fashion shows when I was at university. I loved all of that. But actually, we have the opportunity to create who we are from today. Blank canvas, paintbrush in your hand, create what you like. You don't have to go back to anything. You can actually create your future from today. And that concept just was so foreign to me and surprised me that, we really should think about this from quite early on. It's such an empowering way to see your life and what's possible for you. So when I did this personal development program, I actually met an event technology team who were there for the personal development, and they offered me a job in event technology actually. And I ran a couple of international conferences. It was really exciting and fun and different. And I realized through that, through all the learnings that I had achieved, that actually I missed medicine. I didn't know what about it I missed, but I stepped back into medicine and I was in this place of, what am I doing? Do I enjoy this? Do I not? When I stepped back into medicine, there were parts of it that I enjoyed, that I was much more aware of, having done personal development. Like, I love the communication with the patients. I love being compassionate. I love being able to give my time and serving them from human to human, not just as doctor to patient. But there was a lot that came up as well about being understaffed, being overworked. Clinics are constantly overbooked. And that just didn't work for me. And it was the first time I was able to distinguish what I liked about medicine and what I didn't. And so fast forward to today, I now run my own business, my own wellness business that I'm super, super passionate about. And I'm able to do that on the side while still working as a doctor. And through this journey of growth and mindset and personal development, it really made me feel like we need to have these conversations more in our profession. We really, really do. Like, it's changed my life. It's transformed who I am as a human being, and actually how I'm able to show up for my patients in practicing medicine. I'm just so much better as a doctor as well as a human being, that actually we need to normalize this conversation and change the narrative about what it means to be human before what it means to be our job title. So I started a podcast called The Medic Today to redefine what it means to be a medic today. And I think we're the ones to define that for ourselves. It's in our power to do that. But there is so much guilt and burnout and overwhelm that this conversation is just too challenging. It's too challenging, and we can't find the spaces to have this conversation. So I started my podcast to really connect with doctors and ex-doctors who have been through their own journey, who have had to grow and really tackle their mindset to get to where they are today. Doctors who have started their own charities and their own businesses and their own organizations, those who have stepped away from medical practice, and actually how did they empower themselves to have the necessary conversations and make those decisions for themselves as well as for others. We're not only battling our own thoughts about our own career and identity, it's the world as well. Like, if you work in another field, and I'm being very generalized here, jumping from industry to industry, people will applaud you for your growth and your learning. If you're a doctor and you begin to question your job and you want to try something different, the first thing that's questioned is, what's wrong? Why? And that, right. You know what I mean? And that's the narrative that I want to change. We are multifaceted human beings, and so our lives can reflect that authentically. And the challenge is, as doctors, we are trained to serve and to give, because that is what we want to do for our patients. But actually, we don't fill ourselves up as effectively as we may want to fill our patients. And it's just not a sustainable way of living your life fully empowered, supercharged, in a way where, if you look back, you just love the journey that you've lived. That's just not what's happening.
Yeah. Wow, I love that. I mean, I've learned so much about you there. Well, you've done so many different things, and I think the thing that's struck me really is actually that you found personal development pretty early on, actually, which is fantastic. And I think a lot of people don't. I mean, I only discovered personal development, I guess, 4 or 5 years ago, and I'm in my early 40s now, so I'm pretty late on, and it has completely changed my life. But yeah, you found that early on, so that's had a huge impact, and you've done some fantastic things. Let's go right back. So you had the guts to kind of step away quite quickly, which is amazing, which gave you that headspace. What gave you that? Do you remember like that feeling? What gave you that courage to just jump, like go with the faith over fear, really?
Yeah. So when I finished my foundation training, to be honest, foundation training was make or break for me. I was already not 100% in on my life as a doctor when I was practicing as a foundation doctor. And I felt very guilty showing up day to day, treating patients when I just wasn't 100% there, if you know what I mean. Like medically, yes, I was showing up to my job, but at a very deep human level, I was questioning my life. And it just didn't sit right for me. And I thought coming home to Portsmouth will make things better. But actually, there is something far deeper when it comes to our career. We're waking up doing this every single day. Mm-hmm. We're going to be doing this every single day for the rest of our lives. And actually, as much as structure is great, and I spoke about this on my recent post, like structure can be really good to give you clarity about what your future is going to look like. The steps in medical training, exactly how you're going to become a consultant, the exams you've got to sit. It's very clear, and that can provide security and stability. But for me, foundation training was a stepping stone. It's just like we go to primary school, we go to secondary school, we do our A levels, we go to university. Foundation training was just the next step that I carried on with. But now where we were making decisions about applying for training and places we may move to get a training number, it was just, I wasn't ready to go anywhere, for a job that's going to burn me out, that I'm not 100% about. Like I was clear on that. Mm-hmm. When I put in my resignation, I was really in a sense of guilt, to be honest. I needed to step away. I wasn't admitting that I was burning out. I was waking up every day tired. And what really hit home for me is I was showing up to my own family grumpy. That's not me.
I can totally relate.
I had no energy. No matter how much sleep I got, I had no energy. And I know a lot of my colleagues are in the same boat, that actually you're waking up empty, let alone getting yourself through the day with anything. And you feel the guilt to show up. And it was just a point where this isn't me. I know there is more to me. And my patients deserve better. My family deserve better. And I know I can give more and better. And it's never like a moment where you get this. It's a feeling that builds up over time. Mm-hmm. But sometimes there comes a moment where you've just had enough of yourself.
Absolutely.
You've had it.
Yeah, you realise, that something's got to change, hasn't it? Because if you don't change something, nothing will ever change. And it's just, I think, listening to that gut feeling that's been building up for such a long time, and having the faith that it's going to work out. However, it's going to work out some way or another, whether you stay in medicine, go back to medicine, whether it ends up, I think you said at the beginning, medicine is such a career where it's expected that we give our whole lives over to medicine. That's the kind of traditional thing. It's like you are a doctor first, and you just have to give, and it should be your kind of whole life. Whereas actually,
it's not. It's a tiny part of us. And I think, you know, the way medicine has changed over the years and the demands and everything, I don't think it's, I mean, for some people it's still fine. They want to work full time, they want to work their way up the ladder, and they're happy doing that. That's good. But for the vast majority of people, I actually don't believe it's healthy. I think more and more people are creating portfolio careers. And that can look so different. Like, you can do so many things, and it just gives you that balance. So you mentioned feeling stuck as well.
Yeah.
And you wrote a post about this recently.
Yeah.
So just, and I think so many people will relate to that stuck feeling as well. Like, what did that feel like for you, and how did you kind of get out of that state?
Yeah, so feeling stuck is actually quite a helpless feeling. You feel like you're in this situation where you don't have a choice. And this is your life. Like, when do you not have a choice about your own life? But actually, we end up living that way where we force ourselves to get up out of bed, drag ourselves out, look half decent for work, get there and do what we do because that's what we're trained to do. But actually, we become numb to ourselves, even to the conversations that we're having at work, to our teams. And feeling stuck for me at that time was very much a disconnect. I was not there anymore. My body is showing up, you know, my knowledge and my mind is showing up, but I was not quite there. Who I know myself to be and who I can be just wasn't there. My soul wasn't there, essentially. And this can feel different for everybody. And really, the feeling of freedom, of being liberated from your own disconnect, really takes a bit of work. It's not sort of a moment where you discover, oh my God, this is who I am, this is what I want to do now, and life is great and my career is great. It really is a journey of becoming aware and accepting. This is one of the hardest things that I found, to actually accept that I am overwhelmed. I am burnt out. I never gave myself those labels, but actually I was experiencing the same feelings. I was dragging myself out of bed to make it to work on time. I hate being late. I'm never late for anything. And, you know, that principle is what kept me going. And that principle wasn't a career principle. It was a very much me, Alisha, being human principle. And actually, those values for yourself are so important because it's what gets you through those challenging situations. So when you're feeling stuck, for me, it was, I'm disconnected. I'm not, my soul's not there anymore. And I feel helpless that I can't do anything about this. This is the system. And I've got to work with it because that's what it is. That's the path that's been walked. So that's the expectations of everybody around me. And I don't actually have a choice in the matter. I've signed a contract to say I'm going to work here and show up for my shift, and that's what I do. And it's hard because people don't see that. They see you getting up and showing up to work. Mm-hmm. But then they don't get this sense of, what does stuck look like? They think you're doing okay. But actually, that's what ends up having you hide away more and more and more, because you have to show up and look like you're all right for your patients and serve them. And we get very, very good at doing that, to the point where actually sometimes we forget what's real and what's not for ourselves.
That's true. Yeah, so true. It's like, yeah, just you step into that role, don't you? And just go through the day, and it's like being on this hamster wheel. I'm thinking, you know, how do I get off this? What is the way out? And like, for most of us, you know, medics specifically, but other careers probably similar, like vocational type careers, where you go to, you said, like, school, A-level, you know, university, straight to work. You're on this line, and you don't really know. You're in kind of this bubble, and you don't really know what goes on in the outside world. And for me, like, when I was at that stage, I just thought, well, like, medicine is all I know. Like, I don't know what normal people do in a normal job, or how, and like, I don't think I'm good at anything else. I didn't feel like I had any transferable skills, which is ridiculous, because as medics we have so many transferable skills, like so many. And you've proved that by all the amazing things that you've done. But actually, like, you mentioned that you've got a wellness business as well. So tell us, like, about that. How did you start setting up your own business?
Yeah, so after I resigned and I took some time out, moved to London, I actually encountered a lot of friends in London who were medics, who were training in aesthetics. I went to an alternative careers for medics just to see what other options there were, because I really had no clue. You know, as a doctor, you follow your pathway. You don't really look outside of that. So I just explored, and my background is I'm a specialty doctor at the moment in ophthalmology, as part of my role. And as ophthalmologists, there are loads of ophthalmologists who are estheticians as well. And so I thought, yeah, I can, I'm good with, injecting around the eyes. It would be an easy transferable skill for me to learn aesthetics and practice that. So I did some training in that, started my aesthetics business, ran that for a short period of time. And through doing that, I realized that I want to focus more on wellness from within. And it's not very well known here, but it's quite big in America. We always lag behind America in the aesthetics industry a little bit. But vitamin therapy, micronutritional therapy. So where essentially you have IV vitamin drips, amino acids, antioxidants, intramuscular injections of these, all, to supplement well-being. It doesn't, I wouldn't replace a healthy, well-balanced lifestyle. And actually, a lot of my clients do feel a lot better. They do feel a lot more energized, and they are more intentional about what they're consuming. So it's really nice to be able to supplement their well-being through the business, but also have powerful conversations about lifestyle, about nutrition, about how we can optimize, day-to-day oral consumption to really excel your performance.
Mm-hmm.
Physically and mentally as well. And when we know that when we are in a healthy body and mind, everything works. No matter what challenge gets thrown at you, you will manage that. You will tackle that. It will just work. And lifestyle and preventative medicine is just so important. And I think it is being given a lot more focus these days. And I think it's a trend that's going to keep going up. So that's my business. And so I've moved my aesthetics practice more so to vitamin therapy and lifestyle medicine practice as my primary focus for the business. Mm-hmm. And I've also trained as a high performance coach. So it's really exciting to be able to share coaching practices, which, is a whole other conversation of its own. Coaching, oh my goodness. I'm sure you will resonate with this, but having a coach has elevated my life and my performance to a level I didn't even know was possible. Mm-hmm. And it took a big investment for me, me trying to create my business, do all my training, on my own, and figure out the taxes and, the things that are just hard and challenging and burdensome, the stuff that I'm not so good at. I was trying to learn and do on my own. But through coaching, it just made me perform more effectively, more efficiently, more aligned, having a clear vision of what it is that you want to achieve, and not just as a business. It's how do you want to serve?
Yeah.
And
what's your life's purpose?
Yeah. And is me doing my accounts serving that purpose, or is it actually delaying it because it's taking me 10 times longer to figure out what to do? So yeah, it's having a wellness business, being able to practice medicine, and having a coach as well as being a coach myself. It's probably like I wouldn't be here had I not stepped away and worked on my personal development. Like, honestly, hand on heart, I can't recommend enough people to really spend some time to look at what are you doing day to day for your personal development.
Mm-hmm.
If we want to be healthy, Yeah, if we want to be healthy, we know we've got to eat well and we've got to move our body or exercise. We know that, but knowing that makes no difference. We have to put it into action. What are we doing about it?
Got to fuel your mind as well. It's not just about what you're putting in your body, it's what you're feeding here is probably more important than anything. Because that has a huge impact on actually your nutrition, what you're eating. Because if you can understand all of that, probably work out your mindset around food. Anyway, we could talk about this for hours. We'll be on all night. All the healthy habits is what I'm all about. So that brings us on quite nicely to something exciting that you're working on. Do you want to share a little bit?
Yeah. So, since launching my podcast, I have had so much incredible feedback, which I am so blessed to have. And it's resulted in me turning the podcast into something bigger and really, really exciting. So I am running a 2-day CPD accredited inspirational conference for doctors called Ignite 2022 by the Medic Today, 11th and 12th of June 2022 in Portsmouth, where we're getting together the most inspirational doctors, including Erica, together under one roof to really talk about and educate our peers on how can you live your most fulfilled life that is authentic to you. You know, that is the most powerful way to live. You know, we are living in a structure at the moment that has been made for us, that has been made for the masses, a structure, yes, that works for training, but we are individuals and we are multifaceted, and that looks very different for each and every one of us. And there are some of the most incredible doctors and ex-doctors who have launched their own businesses, who have started their own charities, who are global in making this world a better place. You know, they're serving their families, they're serving where it's needed the most in the world, doing the most incredible things. How have they achieved that? How have they gotten there? And some of them are still practicing medicine. How are they balancing that? You know, and this is going to be the first of its kind for doctors, by doctors, where we really get to hear how they've made their impact in a way that's authentic and aligned to who they are as human beings as well as who they are as doctors. You know, getting them together under one roof, I can't, you know, I'm excited. I can't wait. Yeah. 11th and 12th of June, the Medic Today. All the information is on the Medic Today page. And I'll be really excited to have as many of you there as possible, because it's up to us to change the narrative of what it means to be a doctor and really bring our best selves, you know, for the NHS, for our patients, but also for ourselves and the people that matter to us the most.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, I've loved talking to you tonight. Let's just finish, if we can, by one or two top tips. It's so hard just giving one or two top tips, but if someone is watching right now, feeling like we were before, stuck, that horrible stuck, overwhelmed, potentially burnout place, what are the two biggest tips that you could give them?
Sure. So the first tip I would give, and probably a little bit unconventional, is gratitude. It's something I practice on a relatively daily basis. I do put it up on my stories for a form of accountability. But when you're feeling stuck and helpless or overwhelmed and burnt out, your body and mind is in a state that is not productive. It's not positive. It's clouded. And actually practicing gratitude gives you a hit of happy hormones, and it puts you in a position of, okay, maybe this isn't so bad because here is something that I'm grateful for. You know, for that, it doesn't even have to be for that situation, but if you're stuck, what about this situation and challenge am I grateful for? What am I learning from this? Are you grateful for the fact that you are aware and you're here today? Are you grateful for the fact that you have this challenge and actually you can turn it into a bit of a dance? Like, what can you do with it? Are you grateful for the fact that you have the opportunity to be here on this live as part of this conversation and really make a powerful decision about your life that's going to transform the impact you make. It could be anything, but being grateful changes your state. It puts you in a position where you are more empowered to really see through the cloud, and put you in a position of making more powerful decisions where you are in the driving seat, and rather than, I don't know where I'm going and I don't know what to do. And the second thing I would say is alignment. Similar to authenticity, when we're stuck, it's never usually about one thing. It's usually a disconnect about how you're showing up day to day versus who you really are as a human being, what you really want to do. So there is a disconnect. You're not aligned. You're showing up every day and you're stuck. We need to look at, okay, where is your alignment? And the first thing I would want you to do is write down, why do you do what you do? And as a doctor, you might write, well, I want to help patients feel better, for example. But I want you to think deeper than that. Are you doing it so then you can provide for your family? Are you doing it for security of your career and your finances? Are you doing it because ultimately one day you want to make a bigger impact on the world in the health industry? Really think deep. Why are you waking up doing what you do every day? And actually, if that isn't aligned, it is now in your awareness, and now you can take an action to shift that narrative for yourself. Being grateful puts you in a position of positive thinking, of empowerment about where you are when you're stuck. And now getting clarity on being aligned with who you are authentically as a human being is what will really help you take those first few steps to change the direction of where you're going, to really pick yourself out from where you are and get you moving in a way that inspires you, that you're passionate about, that you know that this is what I want to do. And it might be unconventional, but that's okay, because there are people out there who are doing the same thing. You just haven't found them. It's why I'm running my event, because as a doctor, I didn't know what else was out there. And you need to find your tribe. You're not going to go to a cardiology consultant asking for a cancer diagnosis. So how are you going to get your clarity for your vision? Where are you going to find your people who do what you do? Because I promise you, there are people out there. How are you going to find them? Even the smallest of things, like, who are you following on social media? Are they filling your cup? Is it a lot of negative information? These things matter, because this is, your brain's noticing these things day to day. So being grateful and getting yourself aligned authentically is the foundation of getting unstuck, in my opinion.
Yeah, great tips. I do my gratitude every day as well, like you. It changed my life when I started doing that. And actually the alignment thing is something that just it's not something to just do once. I actually go back to that every 3 to 6 months and just read, because it can change through your life.
Absolutely.
Like what you want to do as your vision grows and as things change around you, your vision can get bigger and bigger, and then where you see yourself and what's right for you then can change. It's always going back to, okay, what is my purpose? What do I want? Where do I see my future? Love that. Thank you so much for talking tonight.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, I can't wait for June. It'd be brilliant. So everybody go and check out the Medic podcast if you haven't yet, Medic Today podcast, and have a look there for the details of this conference that's coming up. Thank you for everyone who's watched live, and thank you again, Alisha.